Our next data organization strategy is groups. So a group is a collection of separate values for a single categorical variable. So I take a categorical variable and I break it up in the following way. Each original value of that variable belongs to one and only one of the new groups that I've made. So it's an exclusive and exhaustive partitioning of the values of a variable. So for instance, imagine I was going to take country, for instance, and instead of doing it by region like the Americas, I'm going to break it down to North America, Central America, and South America. And then the same thing with Europe. I could break it into Eastern Europe, Central Europe, Western Europe. I could break it down to, blah, 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 blah. You have to break it down. But the important part is that every single country that's in the original data set is now in exactly one of these subregions, one and only one of these subregions. Notice that this automatically creates a hierarchy. It induces a hierarchy exactly because now this new group, because it contains every country exactly once, we now have a hierarchy, which is the subregion, for instance. Subregion is higher on the hierarchy than the country is. So groups, in some sense, they are a way to create a new hierarchy that's not currently in the data set. So let's see how we would do this in Tableau. So I should clear this. So same world indicator data set. So the easiest way to do this is if we go to country region and say create group. Now this is a time-consuming and tedious process. So the way, and there's no, sorry, there's no way to sugarcoat it. I might as well just say it, right? Especially when we have many, many, many. There's something, well over 100 countries. So we have a tough thing to do here. So the easiest way to do this is to hold either Control on Windows or Command, the open Apple symbol, on Mac. And let's select, let's do North America. So we'll select Canada, and then to hold the button down, or I lose my place, Mexico and the United States. Great. And we're going to say group, and we're going to call these North America. Okay, great. And now I'm going to do Central America next. So I'll do Belize. So notice that it's in the list. So North America is it. So there are things above it too. So Belize, what else do we have? Costa Rica. I'm doing this once so you can see that it is time consuming. You don't want to be doing this all the time. El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama. Yep, we're good to go. Group, we'll say Central America. Okay, and obviously we would, and then we'll do include other. So notice that if you get tired of doing this, or if at some point you don't need to make the distinction anymore, you can include all other values of the original variable in another class called other. Now, where you draw the line is up to you, but for instance, you might be doing, I mean, it's usually clear in the context of the problem itself, kind of what should be included as other, which ones you can safely group together, and you don't have to have classified in group, and which ones you really need to. Here, if I were to do this correctly, I would really need to do this much more carefully. Like if I'm doing Central America, North America, I would need to do South America, certainly, probably Eastern, Central, and Western Europe, probably Southeast Asia, subcontinental Asia, East Asia. Like we need to be much more kind of consistent in the way we're grouping things. I'm just grouping things here as other to save time. So we can use this now. Notice that we have a new symbol here. So we have the location, the little globe. That's just indicating that the original thing that we had was a location variable. And then the little paperclip. The paperclip is the symbol for a group. We've kind of paperclipped these things together. We've grouped them together. So if we're going to use this, let's do GDP to columns, CO2 emissions to rows. We'll do country region, the original one, to detail. And then we can do country region to color. And so if we move my face real quick, notice that I have my new country regions here, blue for Central America, orange for North America, and gray for everything else. And you can see kind of where these things fall. Now, obviously, you would have many more of these than you used to, and if we wanted to, we could add a country region to our location hierarchy. And in fact, we should probably change this thing. Let's change its name and we'll call it subregion. So now I have my region. That's, it's really continent in some sense. Oceania is not a continent, but Europe, Americas, that's also not a continent, so I take it back. But then subregion is breaking down each one of the regions, and then the further we can break it down into individual countries is even kind of a finer level of detail. But again, anytime we make a group, we naturally induce a hierarchy, and in this case, it fit into an existing hierarchy. So again, this is a way of creating levels of detail in the data set that were not there to begin with. And this is kind of a fairly common thing that, yes, these values were there, but for whatever reason, they weren't coded correctly in the original data set to indicate some relationship that exists. Groups are a way of closing that gap.